Hey guys, Kat Calm here with Studio Sweat On Demand, and I am here with
Allie.
And we'll tell you a little bit more about ourselves and our credentials in a little bit as we go. This video, my first spin or indoor cycling class, is going to be amazing for those of you that have been terrified to join a spin class or an indoor cycling class. You might even be wondering what's the difference between a spin class or an indoor cycling class, right? I will tell you about that. I'm going to teach you how to set up your bike properly, the different types of spin classes that you might encounter. We're going to go over things like different drills that you might experience, terms that you might hear. This is exactly what you need if you're one of the, you know what I mean? Were you terrified?
Oh, absolutely. I remember walking into this class for the first time and thinking, what is happening? And also thinking, if I had a little instruction, I could see how this could be fun.
Yeah. There you go. And now she's getting certified to teach spin.
Woo-hoo!
So yes. All right, you guys. So obviously you're going to need a bike to do, sorry, Allie. You're going to need a bike to do this workout. We'll go over even things like what you should wear in the video. But the first thing that we're going to do is talk about bike setup. So we're going to just get right to it. This bike is actually set up for me, but what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to set it up for Allie, because when you walk into a spin studio or you get a bike at home, the first thing that you're going to want to do is make sure your bike is set up properly for you. We do have another video in the Studio Sweat On Demand library that really gets into detail on bike setup, but I'll be as comprehensive as I can be here. All right, so the first thing that you do is you work on your seat height. So clearly Allie and I are not going to have the same seat height. A general rule of thumb is when you lift your leg up so that it's parallel to the ground, that's about how high your seat's going to be, but you might need to make some adjustments. So we already know that we need to bring this down for Allie. Allie, do you know what letter you usually are?
I'm usually an E.
Okay, so a lot of the bikes are actually labeled with numbers or letters, and so once you get your bike set up once, you'll know how to set it up in the future. All right, so Allie's going to go ahead and hop on. So hop on, Allie. So we've made a guess at like what her seat height should be. It was an educated guess, mind you. But what we're going to be looking at here is when Allie starts to pedal, or when you start to pedal, you want...
Allie has new clips today.
Allie has new clips, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But when she's pedaling, what I'm looking for is for her leg to fully extend without locking out. So go ahead and hold it straight down, Allie, on this side. So you can see here that she can bend her knee. It's not going to lock out, but it is a pretty extended leg. So a 5 to 20 degree bend is what you can expect there. Next thing that we're going to look at is I'm going to have Allie bring her feet so that they're equal distance from the ground, right there. So what we're looking for here, knees over laces. Now, granted, she doesn't have technical laces, but they're there. So I actually think Allie has shifted back a little bit too far. The next thing that you can look at is the fore-aft position of the seat. Most bikes are going to have this. So I'm going to move her forward just a hair, like literally, because she was so close. And then she's going to take a seat. And when she takes a seat, you can see her booty's kind of hanging off the back of the saddle. Like the meaty part of your butt should be a little behind the seat. Okay. But now, if you look, she's a little closer to knees over laces. So that's what you're looking for there. Okay. So I am good with her seat position now. The next thing that you do is you look at your handlebars. So once your seat is set, handlebars are basically by comfort and by the type of spin class that you're taking. You're going to want to bend forward from the hips, not the waist. So when Allie is leaning forward, first of all, these handlebars are set really high for her, I will say that. But she's leaning forward from the hip, whereas if she were leaning forward from her rib cage, it would collapse her and close off her lungs. And of course, if you're doing a cycling class, you want your lungs to be open, right? So we always say tip from the hip. And where that's going to be more important is if the handlebars are lower, like they are for a lot of spin classes, they should only be like, if you're taking a traditional spin class, the handlebars should only be about an inch higher than the seat, or level even. So you can see now she does have to hinge forward more from the hips again, and avoiding, show them how you can collapse. That's what you want to avoid right there, okay? Now, if you are taking one of those rhythm ride classes where there's a lot of choreography movements, that is when you are actually going to want to have the handlebars a little bit higher, so maybe an inch to 2 inches higher than what they would be for a traditional spin class. And the reason for that, go ahead and reach forward there, Allie. The reason for that is when you're standing and you're doing choreographed movements on the bike, if you, and especially in those rhythm rides, a lot of times you're going super duper fast. They really incorporate a lot of speed into their classes. You're gonna have more stability and you're gonna be able to move more quickly if your handlebars are a little bit higher. The next thing that I'd like to talk about, and a lot of times this is not talked about by spin instructors, and it's a really important thing, is your foot position on the bike. So Allie, can you unclip? She's got clips, and these clips are gonna tell your foot exactly where to go. When you're taking a spin class, most often they're going to have a toe cage option, and then they're going to have a clip option on the other side. You're going to want to know that before you go to the spin class. But the most important thing that I want you to notice is, even though like the toe cage goes all the way to here, right? Allie doesn't have her foot jammed into the end, because if that happens, her foot's going to fall asleep because the foot's going to arch. So you want the ball of the foot over the center of the pedal, and you want to make sure you're locked in really good, really well, I should say, or you'll have the cycling shoes on. We'll talk more about that in just a few minutes. As far as the shoe type, you want to have a shoe that has a beefy, more stiff bottom if you are just using a regular athletics shoe instead of a cycling shoe. So again, you don't have to have cycling shoes. It's just a nice option for if you do really get into it. But if you use a very soft bottom shoe where the arch easily bends, your foot's going to fall asleep and it's going to be too much pressure on your foot. So make sure you use a really stiff bottom shoe.
Also, I wouldn't purchase just any clip-ins. You probably want to find out what your gym uses. Some use SPDs, others like Peloton use Delta.
Yeah, so that's a question that you're going to want to ask. Like, if you're going to a spin studio, am I required to use cycling shoes? Do I need to bring my own? Do you issue them when you're taking a class? And then if you are going to bring your own, or if you want to, you're going to want to ask, what type of clips do your bikes use? Because we use SPD clips, so they look like this, and they're kind of like a triangle shape. Whereas other gyms are going to use different cleats that are more like oval shaped. So you want to ask and figure that out before you go. But again, typically most places are going to allow you to use a regular shoe as well. Another thing is, when you do wear cycling shoes, you're going to want to make sure that the clips that you're using are locked down. I know it's really hard to see with this one, but there is a screw almost sticking out here. And so you just use an Allen wrench to lock that down. And you should tighten your clips in your shoes about once a month proactively. But if it feels like something's wrong when you do go to clip in, it's probably because you've got a loose screw. All right, guys, so go ahead and hop on your bike. And just while we're pedaling here, just consider this like a bonus warm-up segment. Usually when you're warming up, it is going to be in the saddle, and it's just going to be really light resistance. Resistance, what's resistance? I'll tell you in just a minute. Let's talk about how to sit on the bike first of all, because we didn't really go over that in too much detail. So when you're seated on the bike, I already mentioned, you do kind of want your butt, the meatier part, hanging off the back of your saddle. A lot of people think, oh my gosh, my butt is going to be so sore. You're not wrong. It usually takes about three classes before it doesn't feel completely awkward. So just know that, and it's not just you. And people will ask, what if I wore padded bike shorts or got a padded bike seat? It really won't help to do that. Your body just needs to get used to a little pressure in that area. So I promise you, like, none of us would go back to spin class, right? If it felt like it did your first 2 to 3 rides. Your body just gets used to it, and literally you just don't even feel it. All right, so we talked about how to hinge forward at the hips, so keep that in mind. Let's talk about your shoulders. A lot of times when I look out as a spin coach, I'll see people with their shoulders up by their ears, and I'm always like, your shoulders are not earrings. Let's drop them down. So you want your shoulder blades to be down and back, like draw them into your back pockets. But if you look at my shoulders themselves, what you traditionally consider your shoulders, my shoulders are actually loose and forward. So you don't want to be like a chihuahua, like with locked out arms. You want to have a little bend in your elbows and keep your shoulders loose to the front. You'll see where my hands are here. This is called hand position 1. Other places might call it narrow. Hand position 2, and again, this is just general terminology, is where your hands are going to be to the outside, but still in close to your body. Some places might get fancy and be like 2.5. Okay, you can do the math there. And then this is hand position 3. And that's typically reserved for when you're out of the saddle. When you're standing, one of the things I want you to notice is my body is in a V position and my hips are the point of that V. And they're right over the front of the seat, which we call the saddle, right? Sometimes your instructor might call like drop low or hover, some terminology like that. That means that you're just gonna get in a lower position. If you have any back sensitivities, I suggest you avoid that move, okay? But basically, if you look at now where my butt is, it's over the back of the seat and my back is fairly flat. Okay, Allie, do you think I missed anything there?
I think that's pretty good.
Okay. When you're pedaling, let's talk about your pedal stroke before we move on. When you're pedaling, your goal is going to be to make circles, not vertical lines, okay? So as you can see here, I'm using a circular rotation. I'm trying to use all the parts of my legs, and the pedal stroke originates at the hip, okay? So you're not kicking from the knee. You want that movement to originate from the hips. And then if you look at my foot, as I make this 360-degree movement, right before I get to the bottom, I drop my heel and then I drop my toe. And that really helps your body to use your leg specifically to use the back of the leg. Okay? All right. Now, you're gonna see I'm starting to pick up my speed a little bit here. Speed is called cadence. Those two terms are interchangeable. Speed, cadence, RPMs. RPM stands for revolutions per minute. Those all mean the same thing. How fast are you going? Typically, when you're warming up, you're gonna be about this speed. Speed, how can I tell how fast I'm going, right? A lot of studios or home bikes are gonna have something called a cadence sensor where you can see how fast you're going, right? So we have those here and you can see my speed. So in this case, I'm going 88 RPM. So the instructor might call out, guys, here's how fast we're going. Here's how fast I want you to go. Now, at other studios, they might not have the computers telling you your speed, or it might be too dark, even if they do have them for you to see your speed. So the instructor might say, it's okay, Allie. Follow my pedal stroke. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if that's the case, you might just be going along, trying to match the instructor's speed. Okay? So that's cadence, RPM, speed, all the same thing. The next thing that you're going to hear instructors talk about, or that you need to know if you're in a spin class, is resistance. How would you define resistance?
Resistance, it feels like you're going up a hill.
Yeah. So
how much is gravity pushing on you?
There you go. I know you love that word, gravity, girl. So resistance means how much gear, how much pressure is being applied to make it hard for you to move those pedals. That is your resistance, okay? So in this case, you are on this bike, we have something called free gearing, and it's a knob that you actually turn to the right to add resistance, to the left to drop resistance, okay? So other bikes might have a lever system. I'm gonna go ahead and go lighter again. Other bikes might have a lever system where the gears are maybe between like 0 and 20, 0 and 10. It just depends. But your instructor might say something like, add a gear. If they say add a gear and you have a lever, that's easy, right? You just up at 1. With free gearing, you're just gonna turn it or adjust it so that it feels just a little harder at the same speed. So that's your resistance. Let's see if I'm missing anything else. Typically your instructor is gonna tell you 3 things. How fast should you be going? How hard should it feel? And how long are we doing this? Right? Those are the 3 things you need to know. And I will tell you, there are a couple, let's just sit up, Allie. But there's a couple of different types of spin classes. There's so many, actually.
There's a lot.
There's your traditional spin class, where what you're doing on the indoor bike is similar to what you're doing, what you're doing on the indoor bike is similar to what you might be able to do on an outdoor bike.
Right.
So if you hear the term spin, That's the type of class they're actually referring to. There's a company called Mad Dog Athletics, and they own the trademark spinning. And that's their rule, that's their policy. If you can't do it on an outdoor bike, you shouldn't do it on an indoor bike. So
you wouldn't do it in traffic, don't do it inside.
Exactly, yeah. But there's this whole trend, and I haven't personally seen people get hurt doing it, of doing things on an indoor bike that you can't do on an out. It would be a bad idea. It would be a bad idea on an outdoor bike to do this. It looks cute, but you couldn't do that on a road bike. You shouldn't. Okay? So that's where spin studios or gyms are going to be used the term indoor cycling instead of spinning. Okay? That's the difference. They both do pretty much mean the same thing. You're going to want to know when you go to take a spin class or press play on a video, what type of class are you taking? If it says rhythm ride, expect a lot of dancing.
Choreography.
Yeah. High speeds, like stuff like that.
Lots of variety.
Yeah. They're super fun. They're not for everybody. We're going to show you what that looks like too in just a minute. There's also classes that are fusion classes, which are like a combination of the rhythm riding and the traditional spinning. I do those a lot. There's also classes that combine indoor cycling, aka spinning, and other elements like full body sculpting,
strength training.
Exactly. So those fusion classes are really awesome. Okay. I think I've gone over most of the things that you guys need to know, and your body should be nice and warm at this point because we've been pedaling a while. The only thing I'm going to have you do before we get started, and I'm going to back this up a little bit, is I'm going to have you guys warm up your upper body just a little bit, because you might think, oh, spinning, it's all legs and core. But you'd be surprised. Roll out the wrist the other direction. And just wave those arms up and down. By the way, at Studio Sweat, we do not practice all this stuff. We're just telling you exactly what we would talk to or tell clients that walk through the door, okay? So don't expect Allie to know what I'm doing right now.
No, we're winging it today.
Okay, cross it over the front of the body, because again, remember I talked about like how we want to leave those shoulders nice and relaxed. Okay, let's talk about some different drills that you might encounter in a spin class or indoor cycling class. So the first one we're going to do is a climb. So when you're climbing, your resistance, or your speed, is going to typically be between 60 and 80 RPMs. So you can see our pedal speed here. And if I do look at my cadence sensor speed, it's going to be in the low 60s, like 62. A climb is where you're simulating a hill. So we're going nice and slow, hands typically on first or second. And then your instructor might have you come up out of the saddle. If you have to pick between speed and resistance, going slower, especially as someone new, go with resistance. Resistance, exactly. If you look at Allie or me, you can see how our bodies are gently rocking from side to side. That movement is really just from the belly button up. Your hips are going to stay square. Let's bring it back down to the saddle. Make sure you feel stability. You always want to ride with some resistance. Hands typically on first or maybe on second. You see Allie there on second. And if you want your legs to get stronger, make sure it feels challenging to you. Let's bring it up. Something you might notice if you are a person that's really into music, we are riding to the beat of the music. Left, 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 right, left. Allie, do all instructors ride to the beat of the music?
No, they don't.
No, they don't. So, expect that. Some might ride right on beat. Others might just be marching to the beat of their own drum. Take a seat. Good job, you guys. Now listen, especially when you're first starting, if your instructor is standing and they have the group standing, and you're not ready for that, don't do it. And then when you do stand up, know that you can just stand up as long as you can or want to, and then just take it back down to the saddle. It's your ride, okay? Perfect. Let's go ahead and take that gear off. Remember, we never take it all the way off. Drink water anytime you need to drink water.
Ella,
Yeah.
you'll need one of these.
Already. Now let's talk about another type of drill that you might encounter. Same thing, sprints or intervals. They mean the same thing. What it means, and I'm gonna add some gear on, so add some gear on and slow it down with me. What it means is that you're gonna push as hard as you can for a period of time, whatever the instructor tells you. So you can see here, like on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm only working at like a 4 here. But as soon as that trainer calls go, you're gonna go as fast and hard as you can in the saddle or out, often your choice. Ready, Allie? Okay, first sprint in 3, 2. All right, everybody stand up or stay seated, but I want you to pick up your pedal speed without sacrificing your gear. So the idea here, bring that heart rate up nice and high, and then we're gonna drop it back down for recovery in 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you're just gonna slow it down, okay? So the idea there is to push it as hard as you can for as long as the instructor says. The recovery periods here are just as important as the pushes. This is interval training. It's how you take your fitness to the next level. We're gonna do one more, okay, you guys?
Our hands are on our heads right now to open up our rib cage and our lungs.
Awesome ad, Allie. Okay, let's do another one, you guys. So for this one, we're gonna go 20 seconds, okay? And this one we'll do seated so you can see what that feels like. 3, 2, go! So how fast should they be going, Allie?
I am focusing on my breathing.
The answer is as fast as you can, knowing it's a short burst. Here we go. Lift those knees up nice and high. And remember, we're making those circles. 4, 3, 2, 1. Slow it down. Okay. So again, if you're a trainer or your coach calls sprints or intervals, that's what you can expect. Spike it, drop it, spike it, drop it. What's it? Your heart rate. Okay? Now, speaking of your heart rate, a lot of places that you go are going to have heart rate systems where you can actually see your heart rate on like a screen that they provide if you're wearing a heart rate device like I am here. Okay? A lot of other people just wear a heart rate device like this and they use their own app. But it's a really cool way to see how hard you're working, okay? Now, this song is a fast flat. If you listen to the tempo, you're gonna hear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Love it, LL Cool J. So, this would be called a fast flat, or maybe even a breakaway, but we're not doing intervals here. It's more of an endurance flat. Cadence on this one is 102 RPMs. I'm telling you, we're gonna be here for 2 minutes. So though I wanna make sure you have some resistance on, it can't be too heavy or you're gonna peter out. Other thing I want you to notice again, look at how relaxed Allie's shoulders are, right? She doesn't have her elbows locked out. Keep it soft. Eyes on the road about 6 feet in front of your handlebars, guys. That'll help keep your neck and neutral spine. Now, sometimes your instructors might call things like stand or sit, okay? You're going so fast, it's like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna stand up, right? Slow down a little bit. Take your hands to the outside of your handlebars, come up, and then just see if you can get close to that speed. Reach for the star or moon, land in the stars, right? 4, 3, 2, take a seat. Now listen, here you can go as slowly as you want, but because I called endurance ride, ideally you'll keep that pedal speed going. Now listen, if Allie's hips were wiggling in the saddle, if you feel any looseness or movement, that's a clear indication, get it Pat, that she's riding without resistance.
It would look like this.
Yeah, show them please. So see how she's bouncing and wiggling? Eric, put a big X over this. What not to do right there. Watch what happens when she adds that resistance back to stabilize your body. And she's looking for her sweet spot again. Where can she get back up to 102 RPM? She's gonna find it. There you go. Okay, so this is your fast flat. We're making sure we got resistance on, but not so much that we can't keep at it. Perfect. Woo! These drills and the climbs do tend to bring the heart rate up nice and high too into your fat burning zone. And we want to burn fat, right?
Good one.
Yeah. Okay, drop it. That's your fast flat. Okay. We talked about resistance, okay? Resistance, how hard is it? On this one, we're gonna go back into a climb and we're gonna do something called resistance loading where we're going to be adding gear as we go, but our pedal speed's not gonna change. So your instructor might yell out, follow my pedal speed. Or if you got cadence sensor, meet me at 62, 63 RPMs. On a scale of 1 to 10, just bring it to a 5. But by the time this song is over, that 5 on a scale of 1 to 10, the rate of perceived exertion scale, we're gonna be up to that 10. Oh my gosh. How? Add gear. In 3, 2, add a gear. Remember, that's just one level harder for you. That's all that means. Same tempo. 3, 2, we're gonna bring it up. Hands go to what position, Allie? Third, okay? Now, especially as we start to add more gear, you might wanna choke out the handlebars. Don't do that, they're your friend, okay? So never white knuckles, okay?
Loose fingers.
Loose grip. I call it, let's take a seat again. I call it the baby bird grip. If you had a baby bird that you were trying to protect and save, you wouldn't want it to fly away, so you're holding on to it, right? But you don't want to squeeze it and hurt it. So baby bird grip is perfect. Let's go ahead and add another gear. Stay seated. So it should be getting more and more challenging. We got 1 minute to the top. Let's go ahead and bring it out of the saddle one more time. You guys got this. In 3, 2, bring it up. Knees and toes, all pointing in the same direction. Straight forward. Okay, now this time, we're gonna add our next gear while we're standing. Don't forget the loose grip. Here we go, add it. Now, this is where the instructor might call, guys, this should be really hard. If it's not yet, it's your opportunity to make it your own ride. Add or subtract more gear. Should be real breathy here. Take a seat, and believe it or not, especially for the ladies, when you take a seat with that heavy resistance, it's harder than standing. 3, 2, 1, drop your gear. Now listen, why on earth would it be harder to sit than stand? When you're standing, by the way, you hear I'm breathy, Allie's breathy. When you're standing, your body weight's in it. You got 40% more power. So for guys, it's actually a little harder to stand because they have more upper body mass. For ladies, it's usually harder to sit with heavy resistance. Do you know what we're gonna do to this one, Allie?
Are we gonna do jumps?
Yes, we are. Woo-hoo. Okay, next drill we're gonna talk about is jumps. This is something you'll see in pretty much every spin class, whether it's a rhythm ride style or your traditional style. So the first thing the instructor is gonna do is get you to meet her or him on tempo. Left, 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 right, left. Okay, so if you do have a cadence sensor, you would see I'm about 67 RPMs. Is everybody with me? Yeah? Okay, this is what jumps look like. Bring it up for 8, hands on third, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, then we move to the saddle, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, bring it up. Now, most instructors are not gonna give you every count. They're just gonna tell you how many strokes per side you're doing. Take a seat. So, I'm gonna call 4 count jump. And I'm not gonna do the 4 count drop down. Just watch me. And down. So all you're doing is counting 4 pedal strokes per side. We got 4s. And down. Now your instructor might say 2 count jump. Then you go up 2, down 2. And you're just keeping that steady speed and counting one side only. 1, 2, 1, 2. So you really gotta look around. count on them talking all the time. Their job is really hard. Okay? Woo! Down, 2, up, 2, up and hold. You just got to get through this. You're doing awesome. Make sure you keep your chins up, buttercups. Next drill in 3, 2, 1. Good job, you guys. Okay. Now, for those of you that are like, ooh, I want to take a class like I see at Soul Cycle, right? We're going to show you what to expect. I'm not even looking at this. I hope I'm catching everything right.
Sounds good to me.
I think we're covering it all for you guys. Now, when you're doing any choreography, if you are seated for the choreography, the leg speed doesn't matter as much, but when you're standing, it really does. So let me show you an example. I'm gonna have just really light resistance, but resistance nonetheless. And I'm not on the beat. Like those of you that can hear beat, you'll see I'm not on the beat. But if you look at my upper body as I start to move like this, it is on the beat. So those legs are flying off tempo. Doesn't matter, because what we're focusing on is that upper body. This is just an upper body pulse where we're bending those elbows. So this is one example. Now, another example is where your instructor might say, same thing, but let's go side to side, where you just look over your shoulder. It might look like this. And all I'm doing is I'm dipping one elbow a little bit more than the other, looking side to side, keeping my back flat. Now listen, Allie, keep going. If this isn't your jam, you know what you're doing? This. You're just riding. You can ride right through the choreography without having to do it. You might decide later, yeah, I want to do it, but for now, I'm just gonna watch, okay? Perfect. So that's one. Another seated one that I like, and Allie, I want you to bring some in too if you can think of any. Another seated one I like, I call them rainbows. Every studio is gonna have their own terminology, okay? Even the instructors sometimes. 3, 2, it looks like this. So you dip in the middle, then to the side, middle to the side. All you're doing here is activating your obliques. That's why instructors will do it, plus it's fun. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, Allie, you got any?
I love push-ups.
Seated? Standing?
Either way.
Okay.
Usually standing.
Let's just do them seated to start.
Okay.
Okay. So, same thing, we're gonna go high cadence on the legs. Go ahead and lead it, Allie.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Go ahead, lead it.
Oh, okay.
Cue it up.
All right. We go forward and back.
Let's get the beat, Allie. Let's get it right here. There you go. So,
but then you can do narrow or wide. Right now we're doing narrow. Wide, open up your elbows. We're gonna do 2 on, walk. Wide, narrow, narrow, wide, wide, narrow, narrow.
Perfect. So, I want you to think about that too. The instructor might be calling singles, doubles, 4. Usually we don't say quad, because I don't know why. But if your instructor in that case called singles, it would be narrow, wide, narrow, wide. If she called double, it'd be 2 narrow, 2 wide. If she called quadruple, it'd be 4, 3, 2, then narrow for 4. So just listen for those cues. You're gonna need it. Now let's show you some of our favorite standing. So typically for the standing choreographed move, you're going a little slower, more like a hill. So add some gears, stabilize. Try to match my pedal speed here. Bring it out of the saddle, hands on third. Same movement Allie just went over. Pretty common. It's a push-up. In 4, 3, you're just gonna bend your elbows, shift your weight forward like this. Let's do 3, 2, 1, and hold. Okay? Now, paired with this often is something called a tap back. There might be other terms for it, but it's not where you're just dropping the elbows down. Can you get me from the side? This is what not to do. What you're doing rather is you're taking your butt to the back of your saddle, and you can see how my arms extend here. So a common mistake I see is people do this, right? That's not a tap back, you reach back. So it might look like this. Go ahead and bring it up. We're gonna do 4 push-ups, 2 4 tap backs. Here we go. And we're going wide on the push-up. 3, 2, tap back 4 times. Get long. 2, 1, 2 push-ups, 2 tap backs, 2 push-ups, 2 tap backs. Awesome. Singles. Down, up, back. See what I mean? That's awesome. Perfect. And there's lots of other things that they might do, like tap, tap, roll. I'm telling you, like, what's your favorite, Allie?
I prefer not rolling.
Yeah, the roll is like a little too...
I like the standing wide.
Okay, good. All right, before we go into this last one, let's take a quick sip of water. So you're gonna wanna know, or you'll find out very quickly, and the instructor should tell you in the beginning of class, whether it's a virtual class, a video, or in person, you might wanna ask if it's an in-studio class. Do we do weights on the bike? 50-50, whether or not they're gonna do any weights on the bike. If they are on the bike, often they are under the seat. Sometimes they are right here. You're going to want to look at those weights when you go into class. Allie, show what you have.
I have a 3-pound weight.
3-pound weights. Wow, well, when I do bicep curls at home, like I do 12s at the gym. Listen to your instructor. When they say lightweight, they mean lightweight, because it's gonna be high rep and it's gonna burn, I promise you.
For guys, it's usually around 5 to 7 range. Women, 2 to 4.
Good point. Whatever the instructor says, but listen, here's what happens. Sometimes you'll go to a studio and you'll just be assigned a bike. If you don't check the size weights that are on the bike, you could be in trouble. Like, you want to make sure those weights are a size that you think is going to work for you. Because I went to a place in Salt Lake City that I love called Torrent Cycle. They are phenomenal, I would tell you that. They do, it's all rhythm riding, high speed. But the first time I went there, I didn't look, and I had 5s. Everyone else in the room, except for like one 40-year-old firefighter, like with buff shoulders, they all had 1 to 3 pounds. I had 5s. I literally injured myself, okay? Because you know me, I was like, oh, fine, I'm just gonna use these. Bad idea. So make sure you check those weights, okay? And the other option for you is do the same movements that they're demonstrating without weights, okay? Anything else on that?
Sounds good.
Okay, let's demonstrate. Okay, so if there are weights, Allie's gonna show you with weights, I'm gonna show you without weights, and I'm just gonna show you some of the moves. You're gonna encounter way more than these, but leg speed can be on tempo or off, because all of these most of these movements are gonna be seated. Occasionally, an instructor will do them standing. Okay, Allie, ready?
Yeah.
Woo, sorry, so loud. Okay. So we're gonna hold our arms to a 90-degree angle, and we're just gonna bring them up and out in 3, 2, here we go. Lift, down, lift, down. Even without weights, I'm absolutely feeling this. 4 more. 3 more. 2, 1. Drop, straighten your arms, bicep curl for 4. Here we go, ready, Allie?
Yep.
4, 3, 2, 1, shoulder press, here we go. So those are some of the movements that you might see with the weights. There's tons of other movements as well. Allie, show them a couple other ones.
This one will work your core.
Yeah, that's so good.
You have your arms out wide.
Yep.
Circles. Bring them in, out, all kinds of fun stuff.
So much. Now listen, those last few moves that she did, a lot of, I should have told you this, by the way. A lot of places where you go, the bikes are literally this,
packed like sardines.
Yeah, this far apart. If that's the case, you're not going to be able to do any movements like this unless they're staggered properly. You'll know, just follow the instructor. And again, no weights is totally fine. Just keep your legs moving, you'll keep it burning. Okay, every good cycling class should include a cool down and a stretch. So, just match my pedal speed here. Still riding with resistance. You guys made it. My first spin class, my first indoor cycling class, you just did it. Allie, while we're starting to cool down, do you think I missed anything? I'm sure I did.
it's helpful to know what the point of each workout is. You know, am I building strength? Am I building in cardio endurance? But it's amazing how if you're standing or sitting, your posture will work a completely different muscle set.
Totally.
You know, there are some times when you're standing on the bike and you release your grip, or you slow it way down, you add a lot of resistance, and you try to keep your body same place. Now your core is really activated.
Yeah, fired up.
That's exhausting.
Yeah.
So good.
Yep. So it's really good if the instructor tells you, like, this is why we're doing this. But don't always count on it. But, you know, a lot of times the instructors will say, this is an endurance class today. This is an interval class. And we talked about endurance means you're keeping a steady heart rate, right? So you're not going to spike the heart rate as high. Intervals, up, down with your heart rate. It's a really
Unless
good.
it's race day.
Yeah, unless it's race day. Yeah, there's another workout for spinning called time trials. Like that's a whole nother vlog. All right, you guys, start to slow it down. Bring those arms up and down. Just slow the legs down. Up and down. Big breath in one more time. Up and down. Good job, big reach. We're gonna bring it to the floor. Sometimes your instructor will stretch you right there on the bike. Sometimes they'll have you get off the bike and move to the floor. So we're gonna do the ladder today. So for a stretch, or one of the things that you're always gonna wanna stretch is your quads, okay? So easy quad stretch using your bike to help you with balance. Just reach back, grab your foot, make sure you grab the beefy part of your foot. And look, if you can, please hold each stretch for 30 seconds. We're running out of time here, so I'm gonna hold them for a little less, but I hope you can do 30 seconds. Common spinning stretch, figure 4, using your bike for balance. This stretches your hips and your glutes. And look, I'm telling you right now, your legs might be shaky from what you just did. It's normal.
Go home and eat some protein.
Yes. Or bring it so you have it right after even, right, Allie?
That's right.
All right, let's go to the other side. So I picked this song. This song is called Courage to Change. A lot of you watching this video are probably people that are terrified to start your spin class. I want you to have the courage to change. We're equipping you here with the tools that you need, okay? You've learned so much. Watch this video 3-4 times before you take your first spin class. And have the courage to change, have the courage to try something. It starts here, it starts now with you. All right, another great stretch and one that you're gonna wanna hit. You use your calves a lot. So if you just step on the back of the bike and bring your toes up, you'll feel this stretch. If you wanna deepen that stretch, you can bring the other leg over the top. But any calf stretch is amazing. And I'm showing you the stretches. If I only had a little time, these are the ones that I would do. Let's switch sides. Come here, Allie. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me and Allie today. Allie, great job. You go get your first spin class. Go.
If you're looking for a convenient, motivating way to get or stay fit, Studio Sweat On Demand has a huge library of ad-free on-demand workouts with non-stop hot new releases, all featuring real people just like you. Start your 7-day free trial by downloading our app. It's risk-free with no credit card required. So get started today.